What's up, guys? Welcome to the 161st episode of the Grow My DJ Business podcast, brought to you by the Grow My DJ Business Discord, Ferrari Production Academy, and Digital Music Pool. My name is Cream.
GaryW here, and I'm back.
Good to have you back. We had Ferrari 2 weeks in a row. I like having Ferrari around. Like, he just fits in with what we talk about and what we do and our market, and he's just great, you know?
I like that he understands our market, but then understands obviously the production side of things, and then like almost like the label side of things, and the all that what A&Rs need and things like that. You're like a higher level DJ, and then I'm like just like the local DJ that like plays all the bigger local spots. So like, it's a really nice balance.
Yeah, he brings a familiar but different perspective, which is great.
Definitely, and that's a huge advantage to have a different perspective.
Yeah, so shout out to Ferrari. Well, you guys will hear more of Ferrari. I think anytime one of me and Gary are not available, Ferrari's probably going to step in and be one of our co-hosts. So
that was a shotgun one last week. End of summer, had family in town. I was like, I'm just not recording today. But I was happy that he stepped in. He's always a great addition to the show.
So I want to start today with a little bit of a somber tone. I know this is a little after, when everything happened with Fatman Scoop, but definitely want to start by saying rest in peace, Fatman Scoop. Like one of the most influential people in music and hip hop. I don't know. It hit me way harder than I thought it was going to hit me.
When I think about Fatman Scoop as an artist, I think like DJ's best friend, right?
Yeah,
he was a DJ's best friend, and not only was he a DJ's best friend with the music that he made and the music that he was a part of, but he was also a big fan of the DJ culture. Was always involved in like DJ podcasts, and obviously synonymous with Crooklyn Clan for obvious reasons, which we'll get into. Really where his career took off from. And I think that had never left him, even though he started to make music with bigger artists. He never lost the footing of the DJ community, right? And I think that's why as DJ, you saw it all across all of our feeds. And if you're listening to this podcast, it was all over your feed too, because you're consuming DJ culture on a daily basis. So it was just huge loss for the DJ community.
Yeah, and I think Scoop is more synonymous with like hip hop and Hot 97 and that world, but really he crossed genres, like he had records with all kinds of Hardwell and Mac J and all kinds of people.
David Guetta.
Right. Really
Bob Sinclair.
Accepted the EDM world and accepted his vocals, or understood that he could bring something to those records too, which was awesome.
He was understanding the evolution of music at the time when hip hop became, kind of took a back seat to EDM, right? And then when Bob Sinclair got big and David Guetta was on the come up, and this was around 2011, I would say, 2012 in that area, he started to get into that EDM world, and he really contributed. And then you realize like this guy could throw his voice on anything and it makes it a party record. And that's why DJs just love playing Fatman Scoop tracks. And like, even I've been playing a bunch of his tracks, obviously, and we all have for years in every one of our sets. And like, you might not remember, like Level Up, Ciara, like and featuring Missy and Fatman Scoop. Like, he plays a huge part of that record, but you're just so used to hearing his vocal, his voice, that it almost becomes like background. But if you take that,
lose control also, right?
Right. If you take his voice away from those records, they're not as party driven records. I mean, they would be party records, don't get me wrong, but they might not be as classic as they were.
Yeah. I think Scoop was just the embodiment of like hip hop, embodiment of energy and hype man and fun. He like made people want to have a good time, right? Made people want to dance, made people want to party. Like he could grab the crowd by saying one single sentence. Like he had you hooked instantly. And in working with him, like watching him come on stage and just like go into that mode and just immediately own the crowd was just really amazing to be able to see firsthand.
What was what was your experience in working with Fatman Scoop? Because I never even really asked you like kind of how it went, or like if you guys like, you know, if you had worked together for, you know, multiple times, or if it was just one time or whatever.
So I first met Scoop in Atlantic City. At the time, I was a resident at Harrah's Pool, so we were doing the pool after dark party, and I was sort of going in between, right, where I would open for certain DJs and certain artists, and like a lot of like the out of town guys would come in, and I would open the room, or like some of the bigger artists, like they had cheat codes, and whoever else would come in, and I would sort of open, and then I was also getting some of the like lower end headline shifts, right? So I, you know, the Saturday after New Year's Eve, like I'd be the headliner kind of thing. So like the first time I ever worked with him, I was technically opening for him and then opening for a DJ from Vegas out of town. And, you know, I started the room. I did sound check with him. We just sort of like hit it off instantly, like super cool guy. We were kind of talking about the flow of the night, talking about like what he wanted when he was coming on for his performance. And he didn't know me. So he was there like super early. He heard my set. He was hanging out with my girlfriend in the VIP, was super nice to her, like making sure she was comfortable. Like, hey, do you need a drink? Like, not something you would get from like a headliner artist, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And as my set was continuing, you know, 11:30, he's getting ready to come on maybe at 12 or 12:30. We were supposed to switch onto the other DJ that was booked. And he's like, nah, fuck that. I want you to DJ. Like, you're doing a good job. Like, I fuck with you. Like, you're DJing. And literally told the GM, like, nah, Cream is going to DJ for my performance.
I don't know.
This is the first time I ever met him. So whatever, like, performance was great. It was one of those things where, like, I'm going off of his cues, but we had never worked together before, but it just worked, you know?
Right.
So it was awesome. It was great. Again, like jumps on the mic and he just instantly owns the crowd. They're yelling in, they're putting their arms up, they're doing whatever he says. And it was just amazing to see how the energy can just go from, you know, 6 to 10 in one sentence.
Right. Is he the greatest MC of all time? Party MC of all time? Probably.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, there's some other ones that I can think of in like the EDM world that have done a lot of the festivals. I can't think of like Ambush, and there's a few others, but I think across genres, like most recognizable, I can't think of another one. Can you?
No, I can't. I'm trying to think back of like when MC culture was kind of at the forefront of hip hop. So like more like like in the 80s.
Right. There might be some
90s.
Guys before our time that were just not.
And I think there's definitely a couple New York City and like party rock MCs from the mid 80s, you know, that probably worked with Grandmaster Flash or even Kool Herc, obviously the pioneers and godfathers of DJing. But in modern times, he's definitely by far the greatest MC, and I mean, he's got the greatest party record of all time. And you said it on a podcast months ago or 8 months ago, whatever it was when we went over that in Be Faithful. And like Be Faithful in itself was just an absolute bomb. I can remember walking to, actually before Be Faithful, him and Crooklyn Clan had another track prior to that called Where You At, and that sampled DMX. It comes in with where my dog's at, instrumental, and I that was in 98, so I was probably like 2 years in the game already, and I was picking through records, and like that was one of the records I bought early on in my career. And I was like, oh my god, like I've never heard anything like this. You know, at that point I'm 14. I'm like, I've never ever heard anything like this. This is wild.
Yeah.
And then when Be Faithful came out, that was like a must have, because after that Where You At record, like I wore that thing out, like at parties, like, you know, middle school block party, at my friend's house parties, like wore that thing out because it was just so unique and it combined so many different records in one record. So it was like, I can go many different places after this, especially being a hip hop DJ at that time. And then, like I said, when Be Faithful came out, you know, being that, you know, Biggie had died 2 years prior to that coming out, that Faith Evans record, obviously Be Faithful, which it samples heavily.
Faith Evans' Love Like This is the sample, right?
Faith Evans, right? I'm sorry, yes. And then that's the main sample, but then it also goes and samples Party at a Party by Queen Pen, which was a big track back then. Off the Books by the Beat Nuts, which was a big track back then. Can I Get a Jay-Z? They were sampling stuff that was like out in and around that year. So Crooklyn Clan was like, obviously successful DJs and successful producers, but like they were sampling things that were still relevant and then putting out this party break.
Yeah, they were pretty much making songs better.
Right. The choice is yours. Black Sheep, which was a little older at that time, and so was Hip Hop Array, but classic party tracks, right? And they throw them all on this track, and it's like a surefire hit. You know it's going to hit. You knew that Fatman Scoop already had a proven track with their last track that they produced with him, and whatchamacallit, Be Faithful just went off like wildfire. And still does go off to this day.
Yeah, party breaks you don't really see as much anymore. I know some of the record pools, like some of the exclusive artists. I think DeVille's been making some on Club Killers, but it's not really something that we see too much of now.
Right. I'm trying to look up there was a major record store in Times Square that I used to go to when I was in middle school, and like every big DJ would go there. So like when I walked in, like it wouldn't be shocking to see the DJs from Hot 97 there or any of the radio stations. And they had this huge break beat section. And like I wasn't super familiar, but people were like hounding over this section because what you would do is you'd grab break beats and you'd sample the break beats for your productions, right? And like I feel like after Be Faithful came out and after Where You At came out, I was more privy to go check out that section and try to integrate that into my sets and then find breakbeats that went with current acapellas, like current hip hop acapellas, and then try to do like on the fly mashups. And that's and it was hard because like you were doing it on vinyl. And so it was long form. You weren't quick mixing anything, but it was part of the hip hop culture and the DJ culture back then to dig through those breakbeat sections. And I feel like Crooklyn Clan really brought that to the forefront as well as Fatman Scoop. So
yeah, man, it was a sad day for me for sure. Scoop did a lot for a lot of DJs. He did a lot for me behind the scenes after that first meeting that I never really talked about. He helped me in that venue. He helped me ascend from an opener to a headliner for sure. He was down to help anybody. Like I hit him up to do a drop for me, and he did a little drop for me. And he just always stayed in touch too, which was like, why is Fatman Scoop DM'd me? Like I don't like random stuff. He asked me who did a flyer for me. I actually linked him with DJ 9. Shout to 9. And yeah, would just like hit me up about like, what's this record? And it'd be like an edit that I made. He's like, yo, can you send this to me? And it would be random like EDM stuff. So it was just cool. We definitely lost a great one. And yeah, it sucks.
Yeah.
Young man,
Yeah. Just really shocking and unfortunate. But he did contribute to the music community, DJ community especially, and just an amazing guy.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to one of our first topics here. And I was DJing in a room either last week or a couple weeks ago. I can't remember when, and I was just sitting there like asking myself, do I really love DJing? Or do I really love performing? And is there a difference? And I don't know if I love DJing. And I hate to even say that because I've been doing this for a long time, and this is part of who I am, right? DJing is something I've done and I've loved to do for fun and then as a career later on. But I was in a room where, no mic. I had no crowd interaction. I was playing a long set. There was no real, extras as far as, the big CO2 and some of the stuff that I've been doing here in the bigger rooms. And I'm like, I don't enjoy this. This isn't as fun for me anymore, And it just brought the question, like, do I actually love DJing or do I actually love performing?
When I saw this come across the email as a podcast topic, I knew exactly. And you said in the beginning, is there a difference? There's a major difference. I love DJing. I like to DJ I like to DJ for people, right?
Right,
Because when I pose
dig through
this,
genres and work a crowd and like really dig deep, play stuff that's off the wall that may or may not work. Like you love it.
I want to be thinking about records and genres, and is this going to surprise people? And is this a great record for this time? Should I save this for later? I love all of that stuff to the point that, and I'm going to be fully honest here. I was playing a big night at one of our venues, and at the end of the night, they were like, "Well, why didn't you get on the microphone?" And I was like, "I just didn't even think about it. I'm not even going to lie. I was so invested in my dance floor that I didn't think about it. I never thought to be like, happy pride, yada, yada, yada. No, I just didn't. It just went by the wayside.
Yeah.
And I think they weren't happy about it. And I'm just thinking about it. I'm like, I was just so into DJing the room. So when you wrote that, it resonated greatly because I do not like to perform. I don't want to ever tour anywhere where, even if I had the opportunity and I magically somebody made records for me and I was able to go out and tour, like I would not want to do it because people staring at me while I'm working and being like smiling and jumping around and getting on the microphone and all of this like theatrics, it's not for me.
Yeah.
Like it's just, you have to know.
You're OG, man. You're OG. You want to be in the corner. You want to be in the corner where nobody can see you. You're just playing music.
1,000%. Like if you did not see me the whole night, I would be okay. I would be completely fine with that. And I was thinking about the DJs as I came up and where the DJ was in the room in comparison to where the dance floor was. And like I'm thinking of the original, not the original Sound Factory, the second Sound Factory where Jonathan Peters played on 46th Street. And he was up and it was covered. And all you could see was like the gooseneck lights to light his turntables. And that's all you saw. You didn't see him.
Yeah.
Same thing over at that the place that Danny Tenaglia played. I forget what the name of it was. A couple blocks up where like Bed was and all those places where like Crowbar was. Anyway, I still to this day don't know where the DJ booth was in there.
Yeah, we're talking like some of these big New York City spots back in the day.
These were 5,000
meatpacking district, New York City.
The 5,000 people venues that we used to have in the New York City area. Well, I mean, still got Mirage, but like in Manhattan, we're talking. So like those obviously the evolution, it's changed, and I don't think that I've adapted to like to be in front of a crowd. I've never liked to be in front of a crowd anyways.
Right.
I just wanted to be playing records and just be the best DJ I could in wherever place I am. And I understand it. You've been doing now so many, so many high level gigs, and you've gotten used to performing. To come back the other way, and if you enjoy that, to come back the other way is very difficult.
It's weird to me. It's like, oh, this could be so much better.
Yeah, it could.
I used to be scared of the performance aspect. Like, I'll be the first one to say it. It used to make me nervous. Used to make me uncomfortable. But now it's a part of what I do. And when I go play gigs that's not an aspect of the booking, it doesn't really fit me anymore.
Right.
I've just sort of grown into this other thing. And I do love the performance side of it. I do love getting that feedback from a crowd. I love that part of it. I want the spectacle. I want the cryo. I want like the dancers and the people on stilts and all this crazy stuff happening in the room and like all of this coming together to create this cool thing.
Yeah.
When that's not happening, it's like, yeah, this is still fun. It's cool. Like, yeah, I get to make the dance floor a rock. And like, I know I could do that, but where's the other stuff? Like going back to just DJing and, this particular room I'm talking about, like we don't even have a microphone. Like I'm literally just DJing. That's it.
Yeah.
It's just like boring to me.
Yeah. The no mic having no, I mean, I know I just said that I didn't use a mic the whole night, the one night, but not having that as an option sucks.
Yeah.
Like that shouldn't even be a thing.
Yeah. I asked the question and I'm going to answer it. Do I love DJing? Yes. Do I love performing more? Yes. Also, since I don't have a setup in my house anymore. I used to have a room completely dedicated to DJing. I used to have a setup in my bedroom where I would come home after a really great gig and DJ more because I just wanted to, Yeah. I'm not doing that as much anymore, but I've also been doing this for however many years, right? It's like it's a little different. It's definitely, this is my career, right? It's not a hobby.
Right.
So
Go ahead, finish your thought.
no, so I think I love the performance aspect, and I love those gigs that have that aspect more than just DJing at this point.
Right. Understandable though. Like it's hard to come down. Like it's very difficult to get to the level that you've gotten to play these higher profile gigs. And then when you get there, it's hard to put the car in reverse and go and do the other stuff that you're coming from.
Part of the performance stuff too is that like they're hiring me to go do what I do. Like there's no expectation of, well, this is the format of the room. It's you're booking Cream and you're getting what Cream's going to play, and that's it.
Yeah.
And that plays a role too. And me and Ferrari talked about that last week. You know, we talked about, you know, the conversation with Rick Wonder and sort of like having that perspective of, I'm going to do me because this is why you booked me, you know?
This is kind of funny because it's funny that you talk about that particular thing, because I went into a gig a couple weeks ago and I'm like, I'm going to play. I had like 2 specific genres that I wanted to play at that gig, and I could do whatever I want at this place, literally. And I went there and it took me 2 hours to get to that genre because I just didn't feel, because I was playing the room instead. I knew I could have played that stuff. It would have had no effect on what was happening in the room.
Yeah.
But my DJ brain can't get out of the way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
I think we've been scarred into that by owners and managers just like hammering us over the years.
I think that no matter what has happened, like I'm going to play the stuff that's going to work in the room. Like it is so ingrained in me. Like, and even though I knew I had a 7-hour set that day and I was going to be able to do many different things, like my first, if somebody texted, they're like, how's like the Glitter Box Defected stuff gone? I'm like, haven't played a house song yet. It's been 2 hours, but it just didn't work, you know? And then I found an opening where it did work. And then like I hammered it for 3 hours where like people didn't want to hear it anymore.
Right. When you're playing such a long set, you can wait to get to certain things for sure.
You know, it's funny. I took that gig and I wound up being able to take that journey and really play the stuff that I really wanted to play. I got to play some really cool records that I've never played before and ones that I haven't played in 10 years maybe. And all around that gig, I saw other DJs that I've been meaning to go see that are playing 7 hours, playing 6 hours. And like, they were all excited about playing those longer sets. And I think it's for that reason. I think it is that it's the DJ portion of it. It's not the performance portion. Like they want to go into these long sets and play so many genres and play so many records. And like, you know, when you're downloading, you pick up like records and you're like, oh my God, I can't wait to play this. Well, that happens a lot. And then you don't get to play it because the opportunity doesn't present itself.
Right.
When you play 6 and 7 hours, the opportunity's coming. You just got to figure out when it's going to be. And then you got to remember that you want to play that record.
Right.
And
I think that's a good point. Like being able to play the records you love, right? Because when I'm getting to go and play records I love, I'm going to have a better time, you know?
Yeah.
And right now, the records I love are more EDM forward, you know? And it's like bass house and tech house and speed house and stuff that I want to do. And I don't know. If I can't do that, I don't really want to be somewhere.
I think recently, though, even in your local gigs, from what I hear from like people that work at places, is that you've improved, your DJ skill has improved because you're playing those records. Not the skill. Your DJ set is perceived differently because you're playing records that you love. That's a better way to put it.
Like when I go to a room and I'm playing something different because I'm playing me instead of what all the other DJs are doing.
Right. And
to try to make the customers happy kind of thing.
And people appreciate that. You're still going to hit all the stuff that the customers like, but you're getting into the stuff that you're into. And you know when and where to place it.
Right. And that's the thing, right? Like you have to know when and how to do it and how long to do it. Because if you play 2 records too long, you could ruin your whole night.
Right. And that's why I cited like, hey, I didn't play anything for 2 hours because, you know, like it's when and where. It's
Right.
still your job to do that, right? It's still part of DJing. Is you have to be a DJ.
Do you think that you have to love DJing to be successful?
No, I mean, look at Avicii. Fucking hated it.
Right. Yeah, I think a
He's
lot
like
of
the
the
highlight.
producers are just forced to DJ because their songs are big and touring is how you make a lot of money. And
Right.
I get that. But as a younger DJ that's trying to create a name for themselves, do you think that they have to love DJing to be successful?
No.
Really?
No, because the way that if you want to make it, we're not talking on a local level. If you want to make it and be a touring DJ, or if you want to just make it, period, you have to produce. You have to produce great records. This has got it's totally flip side to where it used to be, where you had to be a good DJ and then produce a record and then you can go and do whatever. Like, well, you need to produce now.
What if let's talk about like outside of the EDM world, right? We talk a ton about the EDM world, and obviously, like if you want to make it as a EDM guy or girl, you got to make music, right? Period.
Right.
Let's say you want to do reggaeton, Latin, dembo, those style of parties, or you want to do hip hop. Do you have to love DJing to be successful?
Yes, because that is driven on DJ culture. That's different. Like
And skill
the hip hop
and practice,
the hip hop
and
community, the hip hop Latin community. Well, you can lump them all in one and the same at this point, especially when it comes to the DJ community, because it's all very technical driven, right? You have scratching that happens and juggling, and it's just way more technical than the EDM world, and it's just such a culture, right? Like when you like I'm even nervous to walk into some circles because it's such a culture. And like, if you're labeled a house music DJ, you're not accepted in that culture and in that world, right? Like it's an intimidating place, I think, because those guys are so skilled, and it's very it's almost battle driven, if you will, like DJ battling, and there's like a cutthroat mentality that comes with, like, there's very it's me. Like I'm the fucking
when you're in
man
those
out
rooms,
here.
it's like constant. It's competition. It's judgment.
Yes.
Those rooms always made me super nervous too.
But you got to show your chops, right? Like I learned that early. It was like I was at St. Anthony's and I wanted to DJ something, and they're like, "Oh, all right, you could DJ it." And it's like, all right, I better show up. There's other DJs in the room. Like, you know what I mean? And other hip hop DJs in the room. And it was like, all right, you better show out because you get booed right off the stage if not,
I think about that whenever people come in and whenever DJs come to hang out with me or see me, it's like a little chip on my shoulder. Like, all right, I have to make sure. Now there's like not just regular people here, but there's also people that understand the craft, and like I have to be clean. I have to be like, my transitions need to be neat and clean, and like maybe do something a little creative and like do something different. I always think about that.
Chubbs came to see me at Downtown Social a couple weeks ago, and I was like tone playing and word playing, and
you got to show off a little bit.
I was showing off.
If you're a young DJ and you're trying to break into a local market, I think you have to like DJ. You have to like DJing because you have to put the hours in to practice and get better and get good enough to get booked. So you have to be. I think you have to love DJing if you're trying to break into a local market, and your goal is not to be like the big EDM producer guy.
1,000%. Yes, that is true. If you want to be the big EDM producer guy, you better sit down and make music.
Yeah,
I
would say I love music more than I love DJing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm in agreement.
Like I'm in agreement. I can listen to music 24 hours a day. You know what I mean? Like I love music, and you get a certain feeling from it, and I just love it.
I'm in agreement with that because, I mean, we say this all the time on the podcast, but I don't listen to the stuff that I DJ at home, And so, like, obviously my love for music is greater than the DJing portion because I'd be here DJing in my office and playing the music that I DJ if that was the case, if I was just one lane like that. So
I can vividly remember before I even started DJing, like digging through music and like collecting music as CDs, then MP3s. Like I literally have an external hard drive of like every hip hop album and mixtape that I like that came out between the years of like, I don't even know, till probably 2008 or 9.
Have you dug that up yet?
I have it, but I need a Windows computer to access it.
Bring it over here. Actually, bring it over here. I just set up my golf simulator, and it has a Windows computer.
And then somehow transfer it to a new external hard drive that's compatible with my Mac.
Oh my gosh!
But like literally every mixtape, every Jadakiss, Fab, Young Jeezy, Future, Lil Wayne, every one of them I have.
Big shout to Jadakiss. Saw him last week at the bar.
That's funny. Gary bought Jadakiss a shot at the bar in Florida. That's great.
Yeah, I did not expect to see him where I saw him. But anyway, I was going to ask you, I think we've asked this before, but I don't remember your answer. What was your first album that you bought, like personally, that like you went to the store and you're like, okay, I want that album?
I don't remember, man. Honestly, it was probably like Green Day.
I was going to say Green Day,
The Offspring, or I don't like. It could have also been like a Bad Boy something, maybe. I don't remember. That was all like the same era, I feel like, when I was younger.
My mom let me go to Sam Goody. I guess it was like after my birthday, and I had like some money or whatever. I went to Sam Goody and I picked up Pearl Jam 10.
Yeah, that was one of them.
Like Jeremy was on that, and there was another banger on that one. And my dad had like this old Yamaha stereo system. Thing knocked, threw it in. It was awesome. I'll never forget that. I was like second grade, I think it was. But that was the start of it. Like my dad and your dad too. Like my dad was into all types of music. He was listening to Whitney Houston and Mariah Carey and Phil Collins, and you know he had Grateful Dead in his collection, and Fleetwood Mac and Pink Floyd. I'm trying to think, like Michael Jackson, obviously, and that really set off like being subjected to all of this different kind of music. Because my dad just didn't stay in one lane. Motown was big. Frankie Valli is his favorite. His absolute favorite is Frankie Valli.
Wow, you got to set him up. We got to get him up here for a show one of these days.
I know. We didn't go when he was down here. It's a complete fail. But yeah, like so many different genres.
Yeah, I think having a love for music is like you could learn the DJ thing, right? You could figure out how to navigate the DJ thing. You can hire a coach to come help you learn how to DJ or get better or learn how to scratch. You can't really do that to love music and like want to learn about music. That's got to be inside you.
If you want to be a great open format DJ, we say it all the time, go to private events. You got to continue to put yourself in positions where you're going to play different music, and you have to be a student of different music, and you have to figure out how to get it into your sets. And honestly, the only way to get better is continue to play and pick up gigs and put yourself in situations that are uncomfortable. And you're going to fail a lot, but you get better. You know, you get better over time. And it's not instant. It's not 1 year. It's many years. Like it can be many years, especially if in the open format world. In the house world, it's a little different. Because the sounds are, but that's changing too with your speed house and all that, and your different varying BPMs and having to throw all that into one set. I just heard James Hype talking about. I know we talk about James a lot on this, but like
he's a great follow, man. He's awesome,
he's phenomenal. Like his like teaching stuff has been amazing. His inspirational stuff has been amazing.
He has a course. I would love to go check out his course. I forget where it is, but go look for it. But it's out there for sure. It might be with like Crossfader or one of those.
Yeah, just incredible. I've been loving the stuff that he's just been putting himself out there, which has been good.
Yeah, I just reposted a TikTok about him basically talking about production and telling a story of how he was in the studio, like the super sick. He went to the studio 2 days in a row, and as he said it, everything he created was shite. And the third day, he woke up and he was in his apartment, and he opened up his computer and was sitting in his kitchen and like came up with this amazing idea, and then went back to the studio and like finished the idea in a short amount of time, where it's like, you're going to have a lot of those really bad days. Yeah. But when you have the good day, it makes all the bad days worth it, because you have this one day where you're putting in that work for every day, right? And then one day you got the juice, you have the creative juices flowing,
Yeah.
and like it's magic. And that's where you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, I just came up with this great idea. I love this. I can't wait to test it out. Where you could spend a week and you create nothing. So I love that. I love that.
That goes with production. That goes with DJing. Same thing. You're going to have
For
a lot
sure.
of failures, man. And then one day it's just going to go, you know?
Right. Or you could have how many bad gigs in a row and you're like, man, I don't know, like, if I want to keep doing this, or I don't know if I want to play these rooms anymore. And then all of a sudden you have a great gig and it's like, wow, that was magic. Like, everything I did worked. The crowd was amazing. The feedback was amazing. The management was happy. And you're like, I love this. I can't wait to go DJ next week. And it's like, it's the same thing, right? You just show up every day and you put in the work, and like the good times are going to happen and the good outcomes are going to happen.
I feel like that was my first residency in high school. I was at a place Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Thursday, Friday was shit every week. Every week. They was shite, terrible. It was awful every week. And then Saturday would be amazing. And then it would bring me back the next week.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just, that's the nature of the beast.
Right. It's not always going to be good, as much as people might think that that's how it goes.
Yeah. Even now, it's the same thing now. They're bad gigs plenty of times.
Even in the big rooms, there's still slow nights. Like, no matter what level you're on, some nights are going to be good, some nights are going to be bad, and that's just part of the job, right?
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. So, busiest damn time of the year for us. It's been a crazy day today. It's just been a
crazy
lot.
2 weeks, just like it always is, leading up to the first weekend after Labor Day.
There is this end of summer, everybody's trying to get it in, and then all of a sudden it is change of gear immediately. I think it's hilarious that you guys woke up on Tuesday to like 55-degree weather, which is, you know, so par for the course, and then also par for like the way that we need to be thinking about stuff. Like, we're in one gear one day, and the next day you're
I was at the pool on Monday, and on Tuesday I was wearing a hoodie and sweatpants. And I was like, what are we doing out here?
I feel like that is so on par for what happens in our business from Labor Day, Monday, to the day after Labor Day on Tuesday. It's all of a sudden go time. And I feel like, especially coming into the NFL season this weekend, and not even this weekend, tonight as we record this will all come out after the NFL Week 1's done. But yeah, like going into this weekend, it's just like it's mentally prepping everybody for that adjustment to where, hey, you might have had a slow week last week where you were at locally in the North Jersey, New York City area. Well, it's not going to be that, you know, this week and next week. You know, we're
back full flow, where like owners and managers were just sort of skating through the summer. Like, everyone is going to be super on point and involved and hypercritical, because it's going to be busy. There's probably a lot of new staff that are working in these venues. Obviously, all the people that were away for the summer in whatever vacation spot that they would normally go to. For us, it's the Hamptons and it's Jersey Shore. All those people are now back in our city, right? And looking to go out and looking to have a good time and excited about the summer ending and this new season, football season, we'll call it, a fall season to start, right? The bottle service people that were down the shore and in the Hamptons are now coming back to the city, you know, and those slower bottle service places here are going to be much busier. Right. We're already seeing it, like with the reservations and tables getting bought out for our like quote unquote fall grand opening, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I like to, I never thought about it as like a fall grand opening until years ago when it was marketed that way in the Hoboken area. And it's just a genius thing because it gets people excited to be back in the area. Even if they weren't, even if they hadn't left for a long time, they probably had gone on a couple of vacations or went down the shore one or two times. And, you know, they haven't been like kind of a mainstay. Well, now they're going to be there for the long haul. I got the holidays coming up and everything else. And it is a great way to welcome people back and to celebrate in some sort of way. And just a great way to get people to spend some money too. But with all of that, like as a DJ, how should you be approaching your set in a different way? Should you be thinking about your DJ sets in a different way? Is there anything that maybe you should be thinking about now that like maybe bottle service is getting a little more crowded and busy? Are there any ancillary things that we should be thinking about as DJs?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of what I said earlier about everyone being like really on it and more engaged and paying attention more and more involved as far as ownership and management, like that's the big thing, right? In the summer, people are more lax and like you could kind of walk in when you walk in and you plug in and you start playing. Whereas now it's like I would get there super early for the first couple weeks here coming up, right? You want to get there early. You want to make sure you're set up. We always say, Gary and I always say to our team, it's like you want to take away the stress of the DJ and the music. The easiest way to stress somebody out on a big weekend or a re-grand opening weekend is for you to show up 10 minutes before you're supposed to be playing. And like, that's not the way that you want to set off this new season. You don't want to be the guy or girl that shows up right on time or even a little late, right? You want to be super early. Make sure sound is working, right? Maybe you haven't been in the venue since before the summer. Maybe the equipment's changed. Like, I think it's a great opportunity to just touch base with your booker, see what's going on, see if the formats change, right? Formats in the summer musically are much different than formats in the fall. There's just less people in the summer. You have to play more towards your crowd. Maybe you have to be a little more sort of mainstream. Whereas in the fall, you can go deeper. You can go harder. You can get more aggressive. You can play a little left field a little more because the rooms are busier earlier and staying busier later.
Right. You're not risking, hey, I'm gonna play like one or two harder records or like test records, and you're gonna lose your crowd in the summertime. You don't want to. You can do that when your rooms are filled. You can't do you don't get away with that in the summertime.
I would tell you to be on your A game all the time, but like during this time, you really have to be on your A game, But if you're the DJ that went and traveled and played the big party spots in the summer, you're now coming back and you're ready to go. You're ready to rock.
You're continuing kind of what you were doing.
Yeah, you're continuing what you're doing just in a different location pretty much.
So with that being said, and this is supposed to be our very, very, very busy season, which we're still busy.
It's a sprint, man. Like, we're always busy, but it's a sprint from Labor Day to New Year's Eve for sure.
But what do you like? I know we're seeing a little changes year over year here from September to September. We are a bit slower this year, specifically on Sundays, which is an indication of a slowing. I don't want to call it nightlife, but just a slowing bar scene, club scene, bars. I'd say bar scene because that's kind of our Sundays are geared toward football and DJing, football and getting people out for kind of partying on Sunday. And we've seen a drastic change in our year over year for Sundays in September. Why do you think that is? I mean, what's going on there?
Yeah, we've been talking about some of these trends that have been happening just in nightlife overall. And part of it is from the economy, right? Like, things are really expensive right now. Everything is really expensive right now. So to go out and spend $200, even $100 to go drink or party or get a table or whatever, like maybe that just doesn't make sense to a lot of people. I think also the younger generation just doesn't, see value or are as interested in partying as maybe our generation. And, in talking to our venues, not many of them are up year over year, right? There's a handful, there's a few that are doing really well. Mm-hmm. So it's tough, right? I think this fall is going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how we do as a business, how our venues do as a business, and if we've sort of hit the lowest of low points or if it's going to get worse. And we don't really know,
Yeah.
I would hope that we'll be okay, right? And Fridays and Saturdays are going to stay strong and the good venues are going to stay good. And it's like natural selection, right? Like, the venues that are doing what needs to be done to be successful are being successful, and the venues that aren't. And that's just like, You as a DJ, right? Are you doing all the things that you need to do to be successful? Or are you just kind of waiting around, waiting for things to come to you? If you're
Right.
doing that, you're probably not booked that much or
Yeah.
booking the venues that you want to be booking. It's the same thing with the venues. So I don't know. I hope we're okay. But for those of you guys that are working and booking and consistent and successful right now, like, shout to you. Congratulations, because this is not an easy time in nightlife. It's just not. There's less venues, more DJs. It's just tough. And I don't think we're going to see many new venues open up in the next 1 to 3 years.
It's the craziest time in my career. And that dates back to 2000. So it's been, 24 years, and this is the craziest nightlife scene that I've ever experienced.
What was
because
the last
of what you
venue?
just said.
What's the last new venue that you can even remember opening? Like, to do nightlife?
Like, that was just like a strictly nightlife venue.
Like a real place that's doing nightlife. I can't think of one in New Jersey.
I'm thinking Jersey. I'm not thinking New York.
In the
New
city,
York's
there's a number, but in the city, things change quick. You know, like,
right.
Places close, places open. That's just what New York City has always been.
Right. Yeah. Right.
So look, in Jersey City, like, I can't name one new venue.
No, nothing in the last 5 years, maybe even more than that. That are strictly nightlife spots.
And I don't know about other markets, like I would say the majority of other markets, it's probably similar. How many new venues are opening in your markets, guys?
Right, because we always say how the overhead in our market is crazy, and it is. It is the most expensive, or top 2 or 3 in the country, where it is expensive to rent a space, and then try to make up that overhead is almost impossible when you're only opening 3 nights a week.
Yeah.
In other markets, like we always think, like it's cheaper elsewhere. It's not. It's just not just as, but it's expensive in its own right elsewhere, everywhere else in the country. Yeah. So, sure, maybe you can make up your margins a little quicker in a different market, maybe like a Charlotte or something like that, because your overhead might not be as much. And I'm talking like rent. I'm not talking about food. Food cost is crazy everywhere. If you're going to have food, if you're just a nightlife place, you don't have that, right? You just have but it goes to show you though, like how popular is not having food at a place. It's not like people, like the younger generation, even they want to have food experiences. And that's why the nightlife scene suffers, like that's across the board. That's not just
aspect.
That's just not an older person thing. That's across the board. I'm sorry. That's kind of a tangent because I was thinking about food costs, but like, that's just something that you need to have involved in your venue these days to be successful, because people want that Instagrammable, everything. Instagrammable everything. Doesn't mean not just food, but drinks, everything. It's the whole experience needs to be driven around how everything can be consumed and then regurgitated on social media. So I don't know. It's a hard landscape, and I don't want to be doom and gloom for sure, because yeah, you're right. Like, big shout to everybody. There's a lot of DJs working, and we work with a lot of DJs, and not just guys that work at our places, but guys that work at other places too. And those people are doing a great job and really navigating this rough time pretty well.
Yeah.
It's rough only because we know what it was in the past. If you don't know, then you don't know, right? Like, ignorance is bliss out here.
Right. And we're also talking to owners, so we know how they're doing as far as a business. So like, that plays a role too. I do want to shout out a couple hospitality groups that are doing opening venues and killing it. Again, like, I don't know their numbers, but when you're opening new venues, you have to have a successful concept. So the Goodnight John Boy guys out of Chicago and Cleveland, and Bobby Boucher. I know Mr. Sway from Chicago just bought into a couple of those. Like, they're opening up all over the place. They have a set concept. It's a defined concept. People know what they're getting when they go to any Goodnight John Boy. It's unique, it's specific, and people know what they're going to get. And it works, and it's been working, and it's fun, because I've been to a couple of them. So shout to those guys. And then the Barstool guys, like, they have a very straightforward concept as well. And they have the Barstool brand with people that kind of, like Barstool and want to associate with them. They have those venues that are popping up all over the place and doing well. Nashville and Florida and Philly, and I think they're out in Arizona too, right? I think
Arizona, yeah. Yep.
So it can be done, right? Like you can open up, but you have to have a strong concept, a strong identity, and people that are coming to your place need to know what they're getting. And if you're not providing that, you're not successful right now.
Yeah. Marketing, branding, and having some kind of identity. That's it. Not that that's it, but like those are the things that you need to focus on to be successful.
What DJs are those venues booking? Let me ask you that question. The best DJs in the country.
Yeah, of course. They have the right partners and the right funding
they're
to do
doing
that.
well when they put the best entertainment in their place also.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Like what Clutch or Cases or Bobby Boucher or any of these guys are going to do for your venue far outweighs whatever the cost to bring them in is. And I know it's a big ticket item as an owner, but how much money do they make you on the back end compared to the $300-400 local DJ? If you got a good $400 local DJ, maybe not as much, but the average local DJ, they're going to crush on a revenue basis.
I have a quick funny story, and then we can get out of here. I was with the guys from one of the guys that works with Barstool closely, and he shows me a picture, and it's a smashed CDJ 3000, like brand new, smashed to pieces.
That's $3K.
And they were all just laughing about it. They thought it was hilarious. A light fell out of the ceiling, like a DJ light, fell out of the ceiling and just smashed the CDJ into
Imagine
like
you're
pieces.
DJing and a light smashes in next to you. I would shit my pants.
I think they have like a 3 or 4 CDJ setup, but they're just laughing about it. Where like other venues that I'm thinking about would be like, oh my God, that was just $3,500. Like this sucks. They're just like, oh man, like they're sharing it around. You see this? This is hilarious.
Yeah, they
like,
probably have 8 of them under the DJ booth.
Of course.
We're lucky to have 2 working CDJs and a working mixer in our place.
Just set up my 800s today.
Some of our places.
Just set up my 800s.
Yeah.
Oh man, too funny. But all right, let's wrap.
All right. I think yeah, I enjoyed this convo today, Gar. It's good to have you back.
Good to be back.
All right, guys, rock your sets upcoming. And we will talk to you soon. Appreciate you guys listening. Peace out.
Peace, guys.